So this is my final video. This is my final video for Final Fantasy VII. Um, I gave the game a 9.4. I found about 5 issues with regards to the game interactivity, with regards to doors, because everything is 2D polygons, or should I say, everything is 2D drawn um, versus 3D models running through in and out of doors. Kind of difficult to see when they're both connected. Also, the map itself is kind of an issue, especially when they're using opacity with regards to map, as in this right here. Um, Hard to see where different locations are. You see the different little dots, but it's not like you could bring up a clear picture based on opacity of the map and based on the background of Cloud running around while on the map. Might seem simple, but it's kind of difficult on the eyes, and it's not clearly defined where locations are. They don't have names and everything. And then there's also the issue of with regards to battle speed, battle message, and battle feel. There's no description towards what they do, how they do it, and how to execute it in combat. It's a very simple standard procedure placed within the game too, with simple instructions but nothing in detail. Thus, when you get in combat expecting certain things to happen, they don't happen simply because they weren't explained that way. The fourth thing I would say with regards to the game is um, I would say it's the characters at all, but I would say it's with regards to what was it? Not the status of the characters or even the equipment or material. Those things are fine. I would say with regards to the main character going in and out of locations, whereas in combat there's on the world. Sometimes an invisible wall or polygon that overlaps over, like, say, the edge of a mountain can block you from getting around certain areas, or you won't be able to see where those areas are due to the polygons, invisible polygon. In regards to design of the models, and sometimes that's difficult to see, especially when you're indoors. So it becomes an annoyance because you can't tell the difference between what your eyes are seeing versus what you're allowed to see, or what you cannot see, or is blocking your path due to what's obvious that the eye is seeing, such as walls and so on and so forth, especially in the distance when you can hardly see your character. So that's the third thing. And the fourth, I would say, would have to be with regards to where is it? The item menu. Yeah. In the item menu, you have to organize things from top to bottom, especially if you're arranging them, customize them, move them around. Sometimes an object that you really need is all the way at the bottom. It would take you forever to scroll all the way to the top. Thankfully, in the newer version, you're able to do this very simple, stupid, but back in the days, it was a pain to go all the way down, all the way up. So that was the point I took away from it, and that was my fourth point away from the game. Of course, there's the fifth one I took away from the game as well. That has to do with regards to Tifa and Bahamut Zero. If you're unable to access their final limit break, you will have to start the game all over again, or start from, like, say, a save point. So let me lower the volume here so I can sound a little bit more. You will have to load from a save point, and loading from that save point means you either have to remember that you were saving at that location, or it would just happen by chance. Now, if you're the first time player towards Final Fantasy VII, then how would you know that her limit break would be inside of her house at a piano? Or the huge material, how would you know you would get Bahamut Zero from collecting all human materials? You wouldn't know this, so you don't understand this, so you'd have to start the game all over again. Plus, there were never secondary options in how you could obtain the things in a different way if it's not explained to you in the first way. So having just one options how to get something was kind of an annoyance back in the days, especially since certain people didn't want to um, play the game all over just to get to a certain point to get an item when there should have been more than one options in order to attain that thing than to play a game all the way up from the beginning again, or from a possible save location that you were at, which could have been all the way an hour back and 2 hours back, or even no hours back, or maybe just a minute back if you were lucky. If not, it's an unknown thing. You wouldn't be able to tell where Tifa's glove is and where this was unless you had a guidebook to tell you otherwise. So that was the fourth thing I found kind of annoying with regards to the game, that there weren't secondary options like they are now with regards to the remake versions. And the fifth and final thing I would have to say would probably be I'm not 100% sure on this. It would probably be with regards to did I forget what it was, or did I wrote it down somewhere? I believe I wrote it down. Yes. Let me see. Okay. So yeah, the fifth and final thing would probably be with regards to when you're interacting with certain characters throughout the story, the sound sometimes cut in and cut off. What I mean by sound sometimes cut in and cut off is either due to the configuration of the game to the PlayStation 5, or it has nothing to do with PlayStation 5, or it has to do with the system that you're using, or how long you've kept your PlayStation versus the code that's made for you to play Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 5 wasn't configured well, especially if you had your PlayStation 5 or 4 for a long time. Thus the sound will cut in and off due to bad coding on their part. Now, I'm not sure if that's 100% the case, but I don't have a lot of issues with regards to sound coming from any other games. Every now and again, this might be a glitch in sound, but the sound doesn't fully cut off at all. Sometimes in this game, the sound completely cuts off for no reason, and I'm assuming that that might be a sound card problem, but it might also be due to their code as well. So I kind of took a half point off with regards to the game for this issue, and then I took another half point off with regards to the game due to location presentation. Well, not location presentation, but due to how certain things are presented based on location. Like certain objects look too similar to other objects. Can't tell sometimes the difference between something that's a hat or something that's a ring. All objects are placed within bags, so that's the only way to identify that you have the object is within the bags. But I guess that's not really that much of a takeaway, because you do have certain objects that shows what they are based on different images, and only things that are in bags are considered consumables, whether weapons and stuff are actually shown this way. So that should be fine. So that's not really that much of a takeaway. So I would say a maximum of 4 things you could take away from the game that didn't work for the overall value of the game. But that's it, only about 4 things. There is a 5th thing. I don't believe it was the accessories whatsoever at all, or arrangement of things within accessories. I believe it was something else, and that something else is eluding me at the moment. but it was a total of 5 things. So what I'll do, I'll say, I'll call it a day with regards to this Final Fantasy VII. It's been a great ride. I enjoyed it a lot. I believe it's only 4 points under the original, 4 points under the remake version. So if you have this game as a 9, I would say the remake version will be a 9.4. But if you have this game as a 9.4, then the remake version will be anywhere from a 9.7 to about 9.8. Simply because it does everything this version does the same way it does it, but does it far better, especially when it comes to the combat and interactivity with regards to certain characters, as well as the model design of buildings and the environmental art, as well as character designs. Those things are also done well, better as well. Basically, everything that was in Final Fantasy VII is also in Final Fantasy VII Remake. They're just done far better, but not everything, such as music, such as effects, in association with the music itself. Um, it was something special to behold, to go back and play this game again and to experience those moments. So that's something that the remake cannot take away from the original as well. So with that said, I would say, from my opinion, this is a 9.4 game. Now, if you're just going into Final Fantasy VII for the combat, I would say go with the remake version. But if you want to go into the exploration of the entire world, and not with regards to combat and in regards to story, just a pure adventure exploring, I would say this is the better version. But when it comes to combat and combat system, I would say the remake version is far more superior in that sense, but not by much. I would say about a point more, no, 2 points more in that sense, and the remaining points are added across to other things as well. That's why I say about 4 points from the original PlayStation is the remake version. So with that said, since I'm getting a little tired, and plus I gotta go to work real early tomorrow, and I have to play Warframe tonight, I'll call it a day on this. I am going to fight the Ruby and the Emerald weapon, just to make sure that that's clear. Whether I defeat them early or not, or defeat them at all, that's a different story, because the point of this video is not to defeat Ruby or Emerald weapon. I mean Ruby or Omega weapon. The point is to reevaluate this game to see if it stands the test of time, and which is the better version based on the quality, and based on what's offering within the content of the game. Obviously, the original can't hold up to that of the remake version because they're made by different systems, and different technologies when it comes to different systems. So the remake version will always be better than the original based on simply upgrade of tech. However, with regards to a general story and characters, I would say the original still does it better, and a lot of people don't like when the characters talk anyway. So in that sense, the original version is for you. But if you don't mind the talking and you could just lower the volume of the talking or cut off the talking at all, then the remake version also is for you. So it really depends on what it is you're going for. So I would say that's it for my assessment of this Final Fantasy VII. I am starting to fall asleep at the wheel here, because I already recorded this once before, and I got to do it a second time because I was talking way too long in that one. Because I was identifying everything, where locations is, the perspective of the game, interactivity with regards to certain characters. If you talk to certain characters, how long does it take for the window to pop up? When characters move, do they move properly when you're pressing the buttons for certain characters? Does everything pop up accurately and soundly? Does it still hold nostalgia pressing 2 buttons? Let's see, what else? The design of the era, does it look good based on the fact that it's a 2D drawing design? It still looks good for what it is. It probably won't hold up to today, but it still looks good for what it is. you pressing the center D-pad. Pressing the center D-pad brings up the identification of where you can access certain areas, interact with certain entry point locations. In and out of those entry point locations, they fade in, they fade out. Does it work properly with regards to the entry point, or does the character just bleep in and bleep out instantaneously? The fade in is necessary, and it works perfectly with regards to the entry point of one area to the next. So I would say that makes sense, and it's good and it works. The whole design of everything, in regards to the models and 2D models, as well as the artwork for this game, is superbly done for exactly what it is, a drawn product. Now, if this is done based on a computer model design or computer render out artwork, then it wouldn't stand the test of time. But for something done hand-drawn art mixed with 3D model, then it's good, extremely good for what it is, especially due to its size as well. So everything with regards to what's going on in Final Fantasy as a game from the 90s, it's still good to this very day, and it still holds up in regards to its nostalgia, as well as its perspective in art, as well as its lighting, as well as its movement of certain objects, as well as this entry and exiting of certain things such as ships or such as submarines, accessing certain areas, the music, the sound, everything regards to when they cut in, when they cut off, those things work as well. The character Cloud not falling into the ocean all of a sudden because it was bad coding there or something. So the coding for the game works with regards to interacting with everything, exiting and entering those things, showing off a good design coding, not making sure Cloud falls into the world or something by going into. So everything locking off, everything being where they're supposed to be, works for what they are. Every identification, every entry point shows what they are. So the game is done well. Characters in the game are simple to understand and easy to get access to in order to continue the story, or at least they give hints to get access to certain things to continue the story. Those things are also done well as well. So in all truth, it's a 9.4 game, and there's not much else I could say in regards to this game. Those were the 5 things that were bad in regards to the game. So those cons I said before, just those 4 to 5 things, and other than that, everything was smooth sailing. For nostalgia, I would go this game, but for combat and more upgraded combat style, I would go to remake, and that's all I gotta say about that. More I fight this ruby weapon, then I'll go for a mega weapon, and then I'll call it a day by finishing off Sephiroth for the second time, just to end the story. However, once I get towards the end, it's going to be a block screen because Square Enix put up a block screen so that you cannot see the final section of the game, which is completely copywritten. So unless you have permission allowed to see those final sections of the game, which are a miniature 3D movie, you won't be able to see it. That's when I'll just cut the video off then and there. So I'd say this journey has been long, but it's been beautiful, and the grind is good. The chocobo races are good. Breeding chocobo is good. Those things work. Finding secrets and secret hidden locations and material. The exploration in this game is top tier. And to this very moment, I haven't found everything. I'm pretty sure I'm missing at least a good 20 hidden items I haven't found yet. So exploration wise, this game is superior. So it's a good action adventure game, and it's a good action adventure exploring game as well. In total, I would say this is 9.4 simply based on exploration itself. That said, I'll call it a day. Like I said before, if you're into more combat and characters within the story, go with remake. But if you're into nostalgia and want to feel for the music, the sound, and exploration, I always say go with the original. So that's it. One is just a better made car, but it's pretty much the same. Um, where the other is the older made car with just minor faults. But that's all there is. They're not like extremely better. One is extremely better than the other. The remake version is just slightly better by 4 points, I would say. That's all. Moving on from that, I'm just gonna fight the weapon, both of them, and if I die, I die. If I fail, I fail, and then I'll fight Sephiroth again. Then I'll call it a day. And for the remainder of January, it'll just be Warframe and the finals. Since January is going to be a very busy month for me, work-wise. So that's it. That's all I got to say. I'll probably come back to this many times offline, simply to see if I could platinum everything by getting every hidden item. And that's another reason why the game is like a 9.4, 9.5. There's so many hidden stuff, it's crazy. And how to get those stuff, either through chocobos, either through planes, either through puzzles. And there's also puzzles in the game, it's crazy. So this is very good. This is top tier game. I have it at 9.4 because I want it to be more realistic in regards to the points. But this game can go anywhere from a 9 to a 9.7, 9.8, easy. But with its own problems and own faults, I would say realistically it falls short of from the top 10 about 4 points. So I would say you would have this game at a 9.6. Most logical point for this to be 9.6, but then that doesn't feel right either. I would say the most logical point for this, with regards to those who are extreme fans of Final Fantasy to those who aren't fans of Final Fantasy, the balance will go between that of 9 and 9.7. That's where I would say this original version goes, anywhere from 9 to 9.7. And that's why I have it at 9.4 to me, because I know not everyone's going to see eye to eye on this, and some people are just going to have a flat out 9, while others are going to have it as a 9.7, 9.8. And to me, the balance between a flat out 9 and the 9.7, 9.8 is a 9.4, because that makes more sense, which means this is a very good game, and it still holds up to this very day. But I would pick the remake version for better combat and better understanding and tutorial regards to what you got to do and the better map designs. It's just a more cleaner version. So that's it. That's all I got to say. I'm going to fight these weapons. Oh, one final thing is I'm going to use the strategy I used before in the past. Not sure if it still holds up to this very day, because this is the PlayStation 5, and certain codes that they probably put in the game in order to be configured for the PlayStation 5 might not work the way they did in the past. So hopefully I'll still be able to do the whole destroy two of my teammates and solo it by myself, and see if the results give me the same as they did before. If I fail miserably doing it, then something might be off. But if I get a couple of shots in and it works, and that means I'm doing it the right way, even if I do fail. So in order for me to actually do this correctly, I have to remove the double cut. And remove the slash all. Yeah, I'm very tired right now. It's like, I'm surprised I didn't fall asleep or something. Okay, so that said, now all I gotta do is get into combat. Take out UP, take out Red 13, go into combat. I'll fight him twice, but I won't go beyond twice. 'Cause the point of this video isn't to beat him. The point of this video is to just to reevaluate the game, so. Oh no. This is what happens when you get sleepy. Oh yeah, he's done for. He's done for. If he doesn't whip out his hands again, then he's probably done for. I would say he's done for if he doesn't whip out his hands again. But I won't fight him again even if I die. So I only have like 20 minutes more before I have to go to sleep. Or should I say hop on Warframe. Oh yeah, he's done for. There's a beautiful part about mime is just you're miming their abilities. You're not using up any MP whatsoever, so you don't have to worry about your MP using mime. You're just mimicking the ability, executing the magic without cost towards your MP. That's the beautiful part about mime. What makes mime almost godly-like. It's like one of the most, if not the most important material of all time. It's not as important as counter material, but I would say it's the second most important material in the game, if not the most. I might be wrong, it might be the third, but it's in the top 5, hands down in the top 5. If you were to say mine was part of a race, it would either be gold, bronze, or silver. It's in the top 3, to be honest with you. Top 3 best material of all times. Always make sure your characters have mime. Because he's pretty much done for. There's nothing he could do. Once his hand is gone, once his hand is done for, he's finished. And I could basically do Knights of the Round all day, because it doesn't use up any MP whatsoever at all. I could mime him all day. Booyah shakalaka, booyah shakalaka laka. Now that may not work on Omega weapon, but it sure works on this weapon all the time. So the old strategy still works. If you're having difficulty fighting this boss, this is what you do. Very simple. Put mime on Knights on the Round, or should I say put 3 main materials on. 3 main materials you want to have on. You put HP Absorb on your Knights of the Round, because every time Knights of the Round does an attack per each knight, you get back health in return. So you will always have 99.9% health in return. So even if the enemy does hit you and your health goes into the red, once you summon a knight, you gain back all your health just like that. And if you mime him to death, you will never die, as long as he doesn't whip out his hands. So he was pretty much done for the moment I got rid of his hands. You take out his hands first, then you work on his body. The W materia is for two things. One is for the hands, where you summon Knights of the Round to take out the hands, and the second summons, which is you use your summons twice. That's what W summons is for, is to take out the body. So once Knights of the Round were working on the hands, the other Knights of the Round was working on the body. Once the hands are gone, and all that's left is the body. There is, in that situation, since you're only allowed to use Knights of the Round twice with W summons, and no more than twice, based on MP and MP cost. Based on, in other words, once your MP goes into the red, you're unable to use the summons anymore. In other words, once it shows like your MP turns yellow, goes from white to yellow, you're unable to use that summons anymore. Even if you use W summons, even if you give yourself back more MP, you're unable to use that summons again, even if you give yourself more MP back. That's where Mime comes in. So even if you are unable to use your summon using a regular MP, Mime doesn't require regular MP. So as soon as you give yourself health return, absorb based on using Knights of the Round. Once all your magic is used up, or once your Knights of the Round is used up, your Mime just mimics the last attack that you use without any cost towards your MP whatsoever. So you're doing the same thing that you did before in your previous attacks, which is hit them with Knights of the Rounds and absorb help at the same time. And every time you press Mime, you're hitting with the same attack and absorb help in return without any cost towards your MP. So he was pretty much done the moment I got rid of his hands.